Hey y'all, I'm Derek and welcome back to 31 Days of Found Horror. So today we have a movie that's about 53 minutes long and it's called The Wendigo. Ooh, The Wendigo. I like the story of the Wendigo. It's an interesting piece of Native American folklore, so I wonder how this movie maker is going to do. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning, I have to go to work, my clothes are in the dryer. I think I have enough time for a movie. Let's get started. Apparently this is what the kids do. They wear gloves and hold knives. So the movie starts off saying that the film is the property of the New Jersey police. And that really made me think, oh, it's New Jersey. Why isn't it about the Jersey Devil? And that's literally what you're thinking when the movie starts, because it starts with a bunch of kids walking through the woods in New Jersey playing with knives. They're just literally playing with knives. Why are you playing with knives? So anyway, there's a bunch of kids walking through the woods, playing with knives, talking about how to fight with knives, flicking the knives, and there's pictures of the ground. And at this point, I'm really wondering, okay, are these kids about to do a Columbine? Are they about to recite their manifesto or something? Because this is really, really weird. Really did feel like the last known images of kids who shot up their school. And then the camera kid makes mention that he sees a black blob in the forest. And considering the situation we're in, I just said that's a really poor word choice. But then while they're deciding to leave, the camera guy decides just to go out and say, we don't say racist stuff on my channel. I'm like, I didn't hear any racist stuff on your channel, but it's good to know. So then they cut to the backyard of somebody's house, and they're out back because they saw the security light go off. So they think someone's out there, and so they go exploring with their knives. They literally have not dropped these knives this entire time. I'm just wondering, is this normal behavior for 16-year-olds in New Jersey? So they're investigating with their knives, and they start talking about Michael Jackson for some reason. So far, nothing is focused in this movie. The shots are not focused, the dialogue's not focused, and the story's not focused. 3 of the major things you need for a movie, none of them are focused. And so they go investigate this clubhouse that they have, and they're still playing with their knives, and there's no weapon control. And they start saying that this is scary. Why? You've been in this building apparently a few times. The lights aren't on, but you should know where everything is. Nothing in this movie is scary. And then someone saw something. Ah! But you know what's really scary? We didn't see it. How are we supposed to experience what you're experiencing if we don't see anything? And literally, most of this movie is just these kids running around their neighborhood at night with knives. One kid has these gloves on for no reason. Actually, he has construction gloves, but I don't have construction gloves. I just have nitrile gloves. I don't know if anybody else remembers this. This is going to be a very esoteric reference. But years ago, when Chris Kattan and Molly Shannon were on Saturday Night Live, they used to have this bit where they were a couple of goth kids doing this TV show, sort of like Wayne's World except for goth kids, and they had Rob Lowe on as the guest. Rob Lowe shot. And remember, Rob Lowe is supposed to be an angsty, gothy teenager. And it's literally just him walking through a park saying all this profound and dramatic dialogue. That is this movie. Except this movie is 53 minutes long. And makes even less sense. They keep saying something's there, but nothing's there. We don't see anything because guess what? It's dark and you don't have any lighting. And then they stop to whisper amongst each other to build tension and play with knives. Because this entire movie apparently was a reason for their parents to buy them these frickin' knives. So they try to go back in the house, but the door's locked. So they go around the front, and the door's locked. Oh no! Could it be that you might have accidentally locked the door when you walked outside? And then they try to break in with the knives. But not really, because they know that if they actually scuffed the door, their parents are going to be really mad. Honestly, during this point, it was more fun refreshing the DoorDash app just to see where my driver is with my breakfast. And they're trying to decide what to do, and we can't hear any of it, but sure as hell we can hear the crickets in the background. And they're trying to describe what's off screen to us instead of showing us what's off screen, because it's obvious they don't actually have anything off screen, and they keep talking about red eyes. Ooh, that would be a scary thing to see if we actually got to see it. It's not fun watching a bunch of 16-year-olds running around a neighborhood describing what they see when we don't see it. God. Ooh, this one makes me mad. And then they go back to the backyard and the fence is open and all the lawn furniture is topsy-turvy, and they decide it can't be a human because no human can be so quick and so silent. You know what else it could be? A cut. So they try to find somewhere to hide, and someone's missing already. I don't know who, because I don't know any of their names, because I can't hear any of them. They try to call somebody, but oddly enough, they don't have service. We're just taking their words for that, but they don't have service, so, oh no, they're scared, oh. And then they start arguing for reasons, and they decide that it must be a Wendigo. You are literally in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, and you don't go with the Jersey Devil. You go with a Wendigo. For those of you who don't know, the Wendigo myth is known in that area. It's more prevalent more north. And then they start coming up with Wendigo lore out of thin air. It honestly sounds like they just watched Supernatural for the first time, and the first episode had a Wendigo in it. And they took all the lore from the Wendigo episode and made it their own. That's no problem with me. If they were going to make a fan movie, that's fine. They just should have gone out and said so. Because I myself like Supernatural, and a Supernatural fan film would have been a lot more fun than watching this. So y'all, this is nigh on unwatchable. It really is. So they're in the clubhouse. One of them looks out of the clubhouse and sees a skull, and he faints, I guess, because, ooh, skulls are scary. He's so scary. Look how scary he is. Honestly, it's starting to feel like a snuff film. But then there's acting. He's explaining that the Wendigo has more powers than he actually has. He has the ability to control people. A Wendigo is a metaphor for greed and gluttony. It's not really about mind control. And every time they try to make a point, they point with the knife. Like this. Stop point. This is not a toy, people. This is technically a steak knife. Y'all have combat knives. But this is not a toy. And the one who fainted thinks he hears his grandmother. And they're all like, oh my god, he's being attacked by the Wendigo. Don't go out there. But of course he goes out there. Oh my god, this is so tedious. And they decide to try to break into the house again. It doesn't work. And the same guy who fainted earlier, who heard his grandmother, he just collapses onto the ground for reasons. And they say he's in shock. From what? Nothing has happened in this movie. Y'all have just been running around. And then he dies. Just dies. They walk away from the body, and then they turn around and the body's gone. Could it be that he wasn't really dead because he had no reason to die? Oh. And they keep pointing at nothing. Nothing. I feel like Mugatu. What are you pointing at? Nothing. Nothing. Oh my god, I think I'm actually going insane. So they start walking back to the clubhouse looking for the dead guy, but they're also walking very nonplussed, like this is just another day in the life. If a Wendigo's attacking you, first of all, you'd already be dead, and second of all, this is a normal occurrence for you? And then they look at their phones again, seeing if they have service, and their phone is dead. It's the iPhone, so it's probably the new update. When the update came out for those iPhones, it killed the battery quickly. So they think they hear the dead guy's voice in the clubhouse. So one of them runs up to the clubhouse to look into it. He goes in, pops his head out like to say nothing's there, and then someone just pulls him off screen, like very dramatically, like it was the best pratfall he could remember from drama class. So now there's 2 guys left, and oh my god, the gloves are gone for some reason. It happened in the movie too. The gloves just magically disappeared. And then the 2 guys who are left, the camera guy and the guy who had gloves but now doesn't have gloves, they run to the driveway and they see the demented bunny from Donnie Darko And so they run into the car and lock themselves in the car and they both die. This movie was stupid, y'all. It was unwatchable. There was no real story. There was no real dialogue. There was no real shots. I mean, one thing I can say about even the worst movies we've seen so far, at least most of them tried to have shots. These didn't have shots, these had pictures. Mostly of the ground. The Wendigo myth was completely wrong. None of the characters were relatable. It was just a really bad movie. And I know people are gonna be like, oh, well, you know, they're kids, so you really shouldn't be so hard on them. I have seen movies done by kids on this show, and they were put together competently. This movie was not competent. All in all, I watched it so you don't have to. But if you have seen this movie before, leave me a note down below and tell me what you thought about it. And of course, if you want to see this movie, God help you, but it will be linked in the description. Well, that's it for this episode of 31 Days of Found Horror. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for tuning in. And come back tomorrow for another found footage nightmare.